What if you could go back in time and you knew more before you made those big decisions in life? What would you do differently? What advice would have helped you then and now? Welcome to Know Before You Owe podcast. I am Jim Black, and I have been lucky to have gone from being a market maker on Wall Street, helping big decisions be made with key executives at companies, to now being a trusted advisor for large financial real estate transactions for families. In my career, I've met some of the most incredible people along the way, and we're lucky to have them share their experiences with us on this podcast. These are top experts in their fields, great leaders in work and in life. Yes, will share their life experiences, wisdom, and insights that you can leverage in your own decision of life. Thank you, and please stay tuned for our upcoming episodes, and I'm excited to help you know more before you owe. Please subscribe to learn more, and we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Hi, and welcome to the next edition of Know Before You Owe. I'm your host, Jim Black. Thanks for joining our podcast. Today's episode is with Sanjay Kuttemperoor, and he is basically one of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life. So don't let that get to your head, Sanjay, but welcome to our podcast.
You give me way too much credit. Trust me.
Right on. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I think you summarize the modern day Renaissance man. I don't know many people that have the talents or the experience or the life lessons that I've ever run across in my career and my personal life. So can you share your story about things that have made you successful? We'd love to learn about you and your history, and also the fact that you're a CEO of a major company called Wiki Realty. You're doing some amazing things, and love to learn your story. So thanks for being on.
Hey, thank you, Jim. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and we have a lot of fun together, so I'm honored to be your guest. So in terms of background, how did I start my professional career? It's hard to believe. I'm actually going to be AARP eligible this year in a couple of months. I can't believe that I'm turning 55, so I'm kind of bummed out by that, but time just passes by very quickly. I started my professional career in the early 90s. I graduated from law school in the Midwest. Much to my mother's dismay, she wanted me to be a doctor. If you know many first generation, people that came over from India, it was either doctor or engineer. So my brother and I were both med school bound, and took me enough courage in my senior year to tell him I didn't want to be a doctor. I ended up becoming a lawyer. Never really wanted to practice law. So I went straight into my father's real estate development company. He had pretty much built, by himself, a one-man show, a pretty sizable company in a suburb of Milwaukee called Brookfield. And pretty much was responsible for most of the high-end single-family homes in this municipality, which is I think the third largest tax base in the state of Wisconsin. So, he did quite a bit, just single-handedly on his own. And when I was graduating from law school, he either had a choice of kind of winding down and retiring, or kind of scaling the business up. And you've met my dad, so you know that.
Amazing guy. He acts younger than you and I combined, so he's a fantastic guy. And can you tell us how many, when you talk about the third largest municipality in Wisconsin, how many homes is that you guys have been involved with over that span of your career?
Well, in Brookfield alone, probably, somewhere between, the 700 to 900 homes. He developed homes, but he also built, apartment buildings and some condos. And later on, as the business sort of developed, he started sort of branching out, doing some multifamily. When my brother and I came on board, I started in 94, 95, and my brother a couple years later. We saw it as an opportunity to really expand the business beyond just single family homes, and we started doing much larger projects in southeastern Wisconsin. I cut my teeth on a large 420 acre project just north of the Illinois border in a place called Pleasant Prairie. And I remembered I just passed the bar, and my dad hands me this contract. And it was actually the largest land transaction in the entire county at the time. And he handed it to me and he said, don't make any mistakes. And so we, that was the project I cut my teeth on. And today, I mean, you saw that project when you were here. That project, along with one of our other projects, account for, I think, almost 15% of the municipality's entire tax base. So quite a large contribution to the overall community. That project has commercial, like the Costco, Target anchored superstore, single family homes. It's got apartments, senior housing, a hotel. So we are really starting to sort of spread our wings and do some large transactions. In the early 2000s, we decided to go to Florida and see what opportunities were there. And we got involved in a pretty sizable, transaction, about 1,000 acres in Naples, Florida. And we embarked on a 1,200 home, 18-hole, tournament players club golf course. It was quite a project, and we were well on our way in 2006-07, and then, as you know, in 2008, after Lehman Brothers filed bankruptcy, the world was in a very interesting state, right? And being a private developer, owning assets across, at that time, 4 states, and having to deal with that financial crisis, let me just say, was not fun. We had a significant portfolio, probably about 30 banks that we were dealing with, and municipal bondholders, and we had to work through and restructure all of that. That was a learning experience, and I learned a lot that, candidly, I didn't need to learn all that much about that experience. I'm glad.
I'm going to say a couple of maybe some of the, yeah, I got you. Well, that brings up to my next point. So, just to clarify one thing for our audience, when you say tax, 15% of the tax for the municipality, that means that homes, everything there in that tax basis, you've basically given back to that community 15% of all the taxes collected that help for schools, hospitals, roads, infrastructure, jobs, all that stuff. And I don't know a single other person that's had that influence or that much of a difference making in any county, in anywhere in the United States. So congratulations to you and your family for that, number one. That's amazing. And I did get to see it firsthand. I got to see about 1.5 miles long strip of just part of the project, which was like you mentioned, Starbucks, Costco, Target, hospitals, all those things that you guys have put your heart and soul into. And it's an amazing part of your story. Fast forwarding to 2007, 8, 9, I was in that same space, but from the lending side. So you and I were on the opposite sides, still related to each other. So I did see some of those same things happen to individuals, the homeowners, people that had to make decisions of selling short or foreclosing or making a move. So I have a lot of respect for you guys sharing your story. Many people didn't come back after that. Many people didn't have the same passion for that. They got burned, or they didn't feel like they were in this for the right reasons, and you guys are, and that's what's exciting to me, sharing that. So can you fast forward a little bit to some of the lessons you've learned from that? Because I know that there were some outcomes that were not ideal for you and your family, but you've pivoted around that. I'd love to learn the life lessons that you've taken from that, or what keeps you motivated and what drives you from those experiences.
Yeah, 100%. So, entrepreneurship, just kind of lives in our veins and in our blood, right? I mean, my father, it's at 84 years old, he'll still roll the dice today. You put him at a poker table and he's always the I'm all in kind of guy. So, that kind of runs in our veins. And, after the real estate crisis, in fact, we working through all of that, the one thing I learned was, we saw a lot of developers that just got crushed, private developers, and some real sad stories about some not being able to cope and doing some horrible things. And it was very intense, right? And what I learned through that was that, you got, in very intense situations, you just got to do whatever you can to keep keep calm and keep your cool, right? And I never get too excited or too down in the dumps about anything. I try to just kind of keep an even keel approach on everything, because that allows me to sort of, keep my health up, candidly, right? Because the roller coaster of the ups and downs, I think, it wears on you, it wears on your body, right? Because things never go as you expect. And when things look great, and if you get really excited, and if it doesn't go as you expect and it crashes a little, then you get really down, and that's just not good for you. I learned very early on that if I was to sort of go through those ups and downs, it would have taken its toll. So that's how I've kind of, as I went through that experience, and trust me, it was not fun. I mean, being on calls with bankers and, the big Wall Street firms around the country, with them screaming at you about large sums of money that you owe them is not a fun experience. But you sit back and go, guys, look, none of us expected this stuff to happen. We all got hurt. So we can either work through this in a way that hurts us the least, or we can get adversarial and all of us are going to lose really bad. So which approach do you want to take? And at the end of the day, common sense prevailed with most. And that's kind of how I've lived my life, right? Just even keel approach. Just don't let anything get you too excited or too down.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's really good for our viewers, and even for me to take in. Sometimes we get in the heat of the battle and we just got to realize life goes on, move forward, kind of, just keep going. And
right.
Our previous guest talked about don't fight the stream, just let the river take you, so to speak. Within reason, right? I'm not going to go off Niagara Falls, but it's important to keep that mindset of just, your health is very important, your emotional, your mental health, physical health, taking care of your family, and then enjoying the moments that you have, because who knows when they could be gone. We all have the same amount of time in a day, right? I can't buy more time. You can't buy more time. So what I choose in my time, hopefully, is going to be the things that matter most to me and are my priorities. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, you live in the Los Angeles area right now, right? And
yes.
Your family's still back in Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Yes.
Cool. And so you talked about golf a little bit. I have a golf shirt on intentionally. My logo's right here. It's a golfer having fun with a beer in his hand. That's how I golf.
Cheers.
Can you tell, you are one person out of, I don't know how many trillion, that's done something that no one else will probably do ever in golf. And I would love for you to share your story about your golf experience. And that is one of these moments that stands out to me about you. Just the Renaissance man. You can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to.
A fair amount of luck behind it, right? Right time, right place. So, as part of developing that golf course community in Naples, Florida, we got to meet a lot of folks in the golf world, PGA Tour pros. And I became friends with a gentleman that was, at the time, Phil Mickelson's golf coach. And I don't know if you remember, but back in 2006, Phil Mickelson was playing in the U.S. Open, and I guess he pulled out the wrong club on 18, and he hit a tree and basically lost the U.S. Open. So we, the following week, my friend who was the golf coach and my dad and I and another gentleman went up to Treetops in Michigan. There was a par 3 shootout, like a pro-am, and a lot of press. And the day before, we went out for just sort of a practice round. And let me just say, first of all, I'm a horrible golfer. If I break 100 in any day, I'm happy, right? And so we went out on first par 3, and I hit a solid shot, and it was a blind hole, but I knew it was pretty close to the cup. And Phil Mickelson's coach just looked. His name was Rick Smith. Looked at me and he said, "Hey, that's got to be pretty close to the hole, Sanjay." And we drove up, and it was a hole in one.
Nice.
We're just, I was thrilled, right? Everybody was like, "Oh, wow." The funny thing is, before then, I'd never even made a birdie. I never made a birdie playing golf, and all of a sudden I got a hole in one, an eagle, right? And then four holes later, on the ninth hole, we hit, and there was another par three, and I took my shot, and it kind of shanked off to the right, and it hit a tree, and I just saw it go straight up in the air, and I didn't know where it landed. So Rick and I drove our car up, and I go up toward the rough, and I'm like looking for the ball, and Rick said, "Sanjay, I think it hit the green." And he goes over and looks in the cup, and my ball is in the cup.
Oh my God. 2 hole-in-ones on one. Holy cow.
2 holes in one. The second one hit a tree. I'd never made a birdie. And so the next day, with the Pro-Am, all the PGA Tour folks, they were just like buzzing. Like Fred Couples came up to me. He's like, "You're the guy?"
What are the odds? What are the odds of that? Did you calculate those?
1 in 67 million or something like that. Lloyd's of London did the. Yeah. So, yeah, that was funny. And that story still follows me around.
We'll have to golf one day soon, and I'll let you go first, so to speak. We'll play best ball. That's awesome. Right on. So let's finish with some of the things you're doing today. So you've had experience in development. You have your law degree, your history of building, all the elements of technology you're doing, right? You have a company called Wiki Realty, and you have a media company and some other really interesting, innovative marketing pieces you're doing on that. Can you tell me about your latest venture and what you're most excited about?
Sure. Yeah. So my current venture that we are working on is called Wiki Realty, and the idea behind Wiki Realty was to create a real estate marketplace where we could first help consumers connect with the best local real estate professionals to help them find the best homes, find the best neighborhoods at the local level, because what's that, old adage in real estate, location, 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 right? I mean, real estate is very hyper local. And a lot of times consumers just don't get the kind of intel they need at that hyper local level. So our goal with this marketplace was to first help them connect with the best professionals. And once they do, then help facilitate a transaction, find the home and then close on it. Now, for the last several years, we worked on the first part of that thesis with our digital automated marketing program that helps loan officers, real estate agents like yourself connect with consumers and sort of help them, facilitate the process. We're really excited about what we're doing now, which is the second part of that thesis, which is helping, facilitate transactions. I mean, the narrative today, homeownership is just not attainable for many credit-worthy home buyers, right? They have the net income, but they don't have, let's say the net worth, or in other words, the down payment necessary to buy a home. I mean, these are credit-worthy folks that because of, interest rates being high, homeownership costs going up, when they do the math, if they were to get a 90 or 95% loan, they have to pay PMI, and they're paying their monthly payment on a larger loan amount. When you add up everything, they end up with a monthly payment that's more than they can afford. And as you know, most families are, every month they budget, right? And they try to get to that monthly payment. So, with all those costs, you can't get to that monthly payment. And that's primarily due to the fact that they don't have a down payment. Now, we figured out a way where we can help home buyers, credit-worthy home buyers, raise 15% of that 20% down payment. So the buyer has to have 5% in the game, skin in the game with their own money, and then we will help them raise an additional 15% through third-party retail institutional investors. With that, 20%, the buyer is at an 80% loan to value. They don't have PMI, and they're paying on a much lower loan amount, and gets them into a home today that they otherwise might not be able to get into with an affordable monthly payment.
That's awesome. And a little history about you and I was a client of Wiki Realty. I became an investor and an advisor in the company. Just full disclosure for anyone on the podcast, they know my involvement. And to recap Sanjay's NFT element, just so I can understand it correctly, you're finding a better way to leverage debt at a cheaper, more affordable approach that allows family to maybe make a move to be a homeowner versus a renter sooner,
right,
and allows an investor a way to feel comfortable that they're have a secured debt that they are going to be getting consistent payments for, and that it's a well-vetted out buyer, that they're not going to be someone that's buying 85 homes like the crash last time, but someone who's looking at their primary home that they want to buy and allows them to be able to look at other options that may not be there available now. Is that correct?
100%. It's a win-win, right? The home buyer gets in the home today. They have an affordable monthly payment. Yeah, home ownership is the single, the number one way that homeowners generate wealth, right, or create wealth. So we're giving families the ability to start that wealth creation process early. And on the other side of the equation, we're giving investors the ability to get into owner-occupied real estate, which is about as solid and credit, worthy of an investment that you could possibly get into at a low barrier to entry. So it's win-win for everybody.
That's awesome. So cool. And I like to finish our conversation. I could talk forever with you, bud, but I would like to know who one of your mentors is that stands out to you, that helps drive you every day. It could be for your life elements. It could be for business. It could just be a general mentor or someone that's a role model to you. Do you have a person you could share as someone that has those traits? Because I'm always trying to get better mentors in my own life. So.
Yeah, well, I'd say, my father and I have always been very close, and we, even today, still work very closely together. So I've kind of looked at what he's done in his life and just kind of follow that same path. And we're kind of, cut from the same cloth in terms of, pushing the envelope and trying to create value and create new markets. That was always his sort of, goal in everything he did. And I think that's been mine too, right? Create markets that don't exist today.
That's awesome. And always learning, right? You guys are always, like you said, pushing the envelope, and it probably keeps them younger than us, right? Like, and you have that much energy and passion towards something. I always see people when they retire, I don't like the word retire. I'm always going to be doing something. And I think that hopefully will keep me younger as I get older. And your dad has full energy. I mean, on the go. I was getting tired hanging out with him. So I can only imagine what that's like on a daily basis. So I'm excited for your ventures ahead. I really appreciate having you on today on our podcast. We'll put your information about your company, some of your history. We'll even put I think you have an ESPN story about the old one. We'll put that on the podcast also. And I really appreciate your time today, Sanjay. It means a lot to have you on here. I look forward to seeing you soon. And to our audience, thank you so much for watching another podcast episode of Know Before You Owe. You got to meet Sanjay and his history around sometimes big decisions and financial situations come up, and keep your cool, be who you are, be genuine, be authentic, state your values, and move forward. And that's the lesson I take from this. So thank you again for your friendship, and stay tuned for our next podcast, Know Before You Owe. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.